folks, welcome to Season 6, Episode 3 of the PowerUp Podcast. With me, your host, Nathan Shields. I have got a very special guest with me tonight. You may already know him from his music on YouTube. It is Antoine Pickens, aka WizzyWhipitWonderful, the author, the creator of some of my favorite music, not just on YouTube, but music period. So I apologize in advance if I'm going to be a little fanboyish, but this is going to shape up to be an excellent podcast. So Antoine, Mr. Pickens, could you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Hey, what's going on? It's WizzyWhipitWonderful on YouTube, but my name is Antoine Pickens, and it is a total pleasure to be here, and I'm really excited about this opportunity.
Excellent. All right, well, let's jump right in with today's news segment. Alright, so Antoine, I was looking for music-related questions for you, and I managed to find one. CEO 2016, the big tournament down in Florida, recently happened, and I noticed something odd about this year, at least I didn't see, that they had a soundtrack. CEO 2015 had a complete soundtrack made by various artists from OC Remix, and so I just wanted to get your opinion about what do you think about a soundtrack adding some sort of quality to a fighting game event? Have you ever heard of anything like that?
No, I actually haven't heard of that. But just events like those having soundtracks, I feel like would actually bring more attention to the music side of just the FGC in general, because a lot of it is just basically just focused on the pleasure centers, the excitement of what the FGC brings. So yeah, that would definitely help as far as people trying to gain interest in the fighting aspect, and the music lovers who love the music as well.
Yeah, that reminds me, we'll segue a little bit from the question set, of course, because I always do that, but there was this artist, Street Fighter 4 era, named Red Rapper, and I haven't really heard of anything from him in the past couple years. Did you ever hear about Red Rapper?
No, I've never heard of Red Rapper at all.
Yeah, he did. He was featured on Shoryuken.com a couple times before they really started pumping out content like they do nowadays. But yeah, I just kind of wonder what happened to that guy. Well, who knows? Maybe it's something to do research about. So I was looking for video game music-related websites. Of course, OC Remix. Do you use or are you familiar with OC Remix?
I've been there a few times in the past. As far as OC Remix goes, I haven't been there recently. It's probably been about a good 7 or 8 years.
Wow. Do you use any websites for inspiration or just maybe for entertainment?
Just to get myself familiar with nostalgic music. I always go back to I think it's VGmusic.com, where they host all the midis there. So I usually just drop them into my program and give them a good listen.
Cool. Very cool. There was another site I found called Video Game Music Online, and I found it interesting because they reviewed soundtracks and they also did interviews with artists and composers. I have their homepage up. Recently they did an interview with, their website, here it is, Tadayoshi Makino, Sounds of the Dragon. He is the audio director of several Gundam and Dragonball titles. That's a direct quote. So yeah, videogamemusiconline.net. But yeah, do you have any favorite composers in the video game world, people who you look to for inspiration or just a good listen?
Primarily the Capcom sound team.
Nice.
Their sound is just incredibly legendary, and their ability to work together to complement each other's music styles is amazing. So I always end up going back to the golden years. That's what inspires me. Mm-hmm. And, that's what I listen to daily, especially when it comes to covering, what I do. So That's something I do here at the gym, sometimes in my car, and even in
Nice.
my free time.
Nice. For listeners who may not understand, Wizzy Whippet Wonderful focuses on like the classic CPS2 sort of sound. My description can't give it justice. I would probably make it sound strange, but those old school games that have that unique sort of sound. How would you describe it?
Um, I would describe it as nostalgic, somewhat
Yeah.
legendary. It
Yeah.
was part of the blueprint that made Capcom such a gaming powerhouse back in the early '80s,
Mm.
'90s type thing, and it's something that we will remember forever. It's inspiring a lot of creativity among people who just love art and music.
Yeah. Very cool. What fighting games from the past do you feel have the strongest soundtracks? From the pool of perhaps Capcom games, is there one that really stands out to you?
Um, if I had to really pick one,
I know
Nathan,
it's hard.
ooh, yeah, that that is definitely hard. Oh wow. I would go with X-Men, Children of the Atom.
Okay,
It's,
cool.
it had such a strong, prominent soundtrack. The gameplay was solid and unseen. So, you know, when that dropped on the scene, I was addicted. I was addicted by ear and by visual, and
Mhm.
it's still, you know, one of my favorites to this day.
Nice, very cool. Do you play current fighting games as well?
Yes, yes, I'm a fan of Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So, what about Evo 2016? Are you excited to watch?
Oh, definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
Do you think this is going to be the last year for UMVC3?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I know that, you know, just the gameplay itself is there's nothing else out there like it. So I
That's
can't
true.
say it'll be the last one, but I'm hoping that it won't die out that quick.
Yeah, I mean there'll definitely be side tournaments for it, but as far as like the main stage Evo, because they only select 7 or 8 games per year, I don't know. It's had a really long run. I mean, already we've heard rumors, murmurings of a Marvel vs. Capcom 4. So we'll see. I don't know. What do you think the chances of that are, given Disney and they're sort of getting out of games at the moment since Disney Infinity was canceled, for example?
I think it's going to be very slim. So, you
Mm,
know, we can keep our fingers crossed for something like that. But if not, we still have the classics that we can enjoy, and we can
yeah.
also outsource ourselves to some of the other great games this year. Street Fighter V is
Yeah.
shaping up to be great. It's visually beautiful.
Hmm.
It's incredibly appealing, and it's easy to play. All it takes is some time and some practice.
That's true. So, what about the music for current fighting games? When you obviously your ears are much more trained than mine. I enjoy music, but when you listen to games as they're releasing, what is it that you're listening for? Are there certain things that interest you about game soundtracks and character themes that someone who's not so musically inclined, it would just go over my head?
Basically, what I listen for is the atmosphere and the emotion that's
Mm,
conveyed in a lot of this music. As
mm-hmm,
far as the character themes go, I'd like to just focus on the character's nationality, behavior,
mm-hmm.
mannerisms, how a character conducts itself, its fighting style, and see if you know if that is part of the music as well. Because when you hit those key points, it makes the character shine much more than it usually does.
Yeah. You know, a game, I'm trying to think of US games, US made games that I really enjoy the music of. And really, the only one that I can think of is Skullgirls. I love the Skullgirls soundtrack. Have you ever played Skullgirls?
Yes, yes, I'm a big fan of Skullgirls myself.
Yeah?
I love, yes, I love the fact that they were able to kind of revive the 2D community and
Mm,
just bring us something brand new, but you know, yet nostalgic because The art style, I love it. It's just
Hmm.
it's wonderful, and the fact that they were able to implement things that we already knew, like tagging and countering and things
Yeah.
like, that brings back such special memories.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you just said about bringing something new, but it also has that old school flavor. Like Mike Z, one of the developers, had said that majorly influenced by, of course, Guilty Gear. He's known for that game, but Skullgirls itself inspired by Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So that's pretty cool, which is it's almost exactly what you do. You create new things. They haven't existed until this year or whatever year you make them, but they have that legendary status, that pedigree is probably a good word. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I love the jazz. I love the team I like to play is Eliza, Big Band, Squiggly, and I saw somewhere online that was called Team Musicians, and I thought about it. I was like, oh, I guess you're right. They all have something to do with music, so that's pretty cool. But so, what about games that have poor soundtracks? Are there any of those that sort of stick out to you as? And it doesn't have to be a Capcom game, but have you ever heard a fighting game and it's just like, what is this? Has that ever happened to you?
Um, I don't think I can recall anything with a bad soundtrack offhand, but
Yeah.
if it did have a poor soundtrack, I probably wasn't really too interested in it.
I gotcha. So it's kind of a part of the appeal of the game is just to have a good soundtrack. It's
Yeah,
all,
yeah,
yeah.
it's one of the bare bones. It's one of the pieces that help just help a game be successful.
Yeah, yeah. Are you going to be picking up either Injustice 2 or KOF 14? And then also Tekken 7, another major release coming later this year.
Yes, I know I'll be picking up Injustice 2 and the new KOF. I love the direction that KOF has taken with their games.
Hmm.
It's very fluid, it's very beautiful, and all KOF music has always been incredibly good to me.
Yeah.
Tekken 7, I'm not really big on that. It's kind of a different type of thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I understand. I'm going to write down a quick question, something that just popped into my head for the
Okay.
community segment, so later. But no, very cool. Is there any other news that you have? Anything that you'd like to give out to the listeners? Anything that you've been working on?
Um, all I want to do is just apologize to everybody for such a delay with the download of my music.
Mm.
Been having some real life issues lately, and I'm trying to just get back to square one with those. I
Mm-hmm.
really plan to try to move forward and get a lot of my library downloadable for everyone. It's taking a process, but I'm really trying my best to go ahead and get that up.
Very cool. And of course, you're not just on YouTube, you have your own website, and I encourage anyone to go check it out. There will be, of course, a link in the description of this podcast for you to check out WizzyWhipitWonderful's main website. So that's great. All right. Well, Mr. Pickens, let's go to now the strategy segment. All right. So I asked that last question as sort of a segue. I wanted to know, how do you choose what your next project, I'm sorry, is going to be? What's your process for that?
As far as being involved with the projects or just characters.
Uh, well, I would like to know both. Let's start with characters.
Okay, well, usually I like to listen to my fan base.
Hmm.
I listen to the feedback that they give me because they
Mm-hmm.
love to suggest stuff. How about X or how about Y or how about Z? And I take that and take it into consideration. I do some reading. If there is gameplay available, I do use gameplay. I watch about a half an hour of gameplay if it is available, and I do some more reading, and I take the key points into my music, and I play around and I tinker with it to see what I can come up with. And usually if I'm successful, I end up creating something nice for everyone to listen to.
That's cool. So you actually are inspired by how the characters move, fight, and behave.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Hmm.
And I also have to say that I am inspired by the artists who help the visual for me and for everyone else. So all pixel artists out there,
Yeah.
I do appreciate you, and you are always welcome to be featured on my channel.
I know that is so cool that when you go onto your channel and you pick any given video, a lot of the times there are unique grassroots sprite-based artists that have provided you with a character sprite, and I think that's awesome. I think it's really cool.
It is. It's great. So everyone on DeviantArt and any other
Mm.
website where you can host any type of art, I do give you all a major thanks. You are always appreciated.
Very cool. Well, hit him up, folks, if you want to get your character out there, your sprite work. That's excellent. Great. So you watch the character, you get inside of their actions, their motivations, and things like that. The nuts and bolts of starting a composition. What sorts of programs, what sorts of equipment do you use? What combination of instruments and software come together to create what you make?
What comes together for me is a digital audio workstation called Fruity Loop Studio.
Mm-hmm.
So I use Fruity Loop Studio to sequence everything. I use a program called Gold Wave to open up the arcade ROMs. The Gold Wave program helps me to extract all of the sound files
Oh, wow.
completely from each ROM, and I can cut them and separate them and loop them in a Fruity Loop Studio and sequence it and put it together, and I upload it for everyone to hear.
That's so cool that you can extract things from the ROMs. Now, I'm assuming that doesn't pop out as an MP3 ready to go. What kind of files are actually extractable from ROMs?
I forget exactly what type of files they are, but um, when I'm able to extract them, you can extract them as WAV files if you like.
Hmm.
Gold Wave gives you the option to do that.
Wow, interesting.
Mhm.
Very cool. So you've got the tools in front of you.
Yes.
What's the starting point? What's the way that you fiddle around with what kind of composition you want to make? How many iterations might you go through, or how do you troubleshoot if something doesn't quite sound right?
Usually just tinkering around with the piano
Hmm.
usually helps me to get a starting point. Sometimes I have to include a few other sounds, some synth bass, finger bass, smooth bass, and maybe a few synth leads. Usually takes about 3 or 4 tries, especially if my creativity is low or it's being blocked. So I
Right.
may have to close the program out and just give myself a little time to relax and let the idea come out on its own, because there are so many different ideas in my head all the time. My head is
Hmm.
like it's like a music box. I get inspired by the smallest jingle.
Very cool. Yeah, I feel your pain because I create a lot of graphics for my local community and for PowerUp, the website, and the shows and everything else. And sometimes it is good just to back away and let an idea sort of mull over, sort of based in your brain until it comes out a little bit more fully formed. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I definitely know how that works. Very cool. So, what was the other part of it? So not just character themes, but now how do you choose collaborative projects or other projects? What is your process for choosing what that next project will be?
Um, Usually my project is just checking out projects,
Mm-hmm.
seeing what they're about, checking out the blueprints, the bare bones, finding out what it is they're trying to what they're trying to bring to everyone, and I check all aspects of the project, what the story is about, how many characters there are,
Hmm.
the conflict between characters, different routes, multiple routes, endings, bonus characters, random boss battles and stuff like that. I check all of that out, and that's what usually um, helps me to find out if I want to get interested in a project. I just approach a few people because I'm always at Mugen Fighters Guild. That's usually where you can find me. I'm always there, and I seen a few projects that I actually liked. So I got in touch with the person in charge or the person responsible for the project, and just kindly asked him, I could lend my hand, with some music if you'd like, and if I get the proper response, then I'm appointed on the music board.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, the last question I have for you for the strategy segment is a good segue question. How has your work in music impacted your life? What do you think you've gotten from this aspect of your life?
Working with music in general, and just what I've been doing on YouTube for a number of years has helped me to be able to be more assertive and be more versatile in my life. It helps me to challenge myself, every day, especially doing new and unfamiliar things. People requesting things helps me to strengthen my flexibility bone with just attacking stuff that I don't know anything about. So there may be a character I've never heard of, I've never seen, I've probably never played the game before, but with the reading and the gameplay, I end up fleshing out something really beautiful that I didn't know anything about initially.
That's really cool. Nice. All right, cool. Let's move on to today's community segment. All right, so tell us more about yourself. Where do you come from? What makes you tick?
Okay, first off, my name is Antoine Pickens. I am from Detroit, Michigan. I've always been a music lover ever since I was a child. My mother always said I was a special kid. I had a knack for music very early on, and music has just been a very strong staple in my life. It helps me get through hard times. It helps me pass the time, and I feel there's nothing better to do than just have music incorporated with everything that I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And of course, Detroit is like Cleveland. My wife is from Cleveland, and both cities have reputations, of course. But what's your Detroit experience been?
My Detroit experience has been really wonderful. I was born in the late 80s, so that was a more simple time in history where people cared about each other, and people weren't afraid to stand up for what they believed in. I lived in a society that wasn't the best at all, and we weren't rich, but we definitely made good and made do with everything that we had. Long story short, basically, I just lived around a lot of people who considered themselves to be family.
Yeah, very
cool.
cool.
It wasn't just people, that were within my family. There were, friends and friends of the family and other close people.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you've had a positive experience. I think that sort of positivity should come out more from places that have bad reputations in the country. I don't think that that's necessarily fair, because there are lots of good stories too, and those deserve time. So, great. With the fighting game community, I didn't know before I saw your location pop up on Skype that you were from Detroit. So have you ever made any connections with the Michigan fighting game community?
No, I actually haven't. I've been meaning to do that for some time. I haven't had the time to do that.
No, I understand. I know one of the best players currently, one of the players who has always gotten good press, but is now even getting more with his birdie play, is F3 Alucard, who also, I believe, is named Antoine. His name Antoine Ortiz, I think. So yeah, go figure. Maybe one day, if you really get into the local FGC, maybe you'll meet him sometime. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds nice.
Well, yeah, I encourage you to, if you get the time. I know people have games on weird days of the week, sometimes weekends. It doesn't always fit our schedule. So, but still, I encourage you to go out and see if you can make some connections with the fighting game community. They're not all bad. The FGC also has kind of a reputation, but it's getting better. And
Cool.
the Detroit scene, I know they had some sort of weekly or monthly called the Wall Raven. I think that was named after the gentleman who runs it. The Wall Raven Weekly, I believe, is what it was called. I don't know if they still do that, but might be something to check into.
Okay.
So back onto the music community. What is the music community like? You said that you are most familiar with perhaps the Mugen Guild community. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, what's that community like? Are the
Uh,
people friendly, outgoing? How is it?
it is. It's a very friendly and outgoing community. So
Nice.
it's a great forum. If you have the time, you should stop by and check it out. We don't have people who are asinine and technical. They only get like that when when you need some help and you need that harsh, honest opinion.
Yeah. Are there other people doing what it is that you do, where they want that pedigree, they want that legendary sound? Because I've seen things here and there on YouTube, but is there anyone else that really does what you do?
Yes. As a matter of fact, there are more than a few people who are actually doing exactly what I'm doing, just in their
Nice.
own way.
Sure.
I'd like to give a shout out to JG of Genesis Keys. His YouTube channel is Genesis Keys. The young man is a wonderful, wonderful composer, and his music is just absolutely stellar.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, nice. And of course, we'll put a link to the Genesis Keys YouTube channel in the description of this podcast. So that's excellent. And anybody else who we talk about. That'd be
There
perfect.
are a host of different people. I wish I could name them offhand. If I believe, what is that young man's name? I think it's No More Heroes 2012. I believe a gentleman by the name of Black Bomb 6 is also doing the same thing,
Okay.
and I can't think of the other young man's name, but he is also into it as well. The trend I've started has actually, helped people to expand on their own personal creativity, and I'm glad to just be able to help in such a way. I'm not looking for anything, in return. I just like to be able to help inspire people and help them to achieve greater things within their lifetime.
That's excellent. And of course, after the recording's done, and if you think of anybody, just drop me a line and I'll be happy to put any links in the description that you'd like. That is not a problem. So, for our next question, am I right that you worked on the soundtrack for Hyper Dragon Ball Z?
Yes.
What was that like?
Um, it's actually still in the works right
Mm-hmm.
now. I am the soundtrack itself is really unfinished.
Mm.
I'm still going through a mastering process, and I still have a few more songs to compose. But I am a very very big fan of Balthazar and a great friend to Balthazar.
Awesome. That's great. I know that Hyper Dragon Ball Z got some press on Shoryuken and I believe Event Hubs a couple times here and there, but we'll have to get a link from you to where people can go to kind of keep track of what's going on with HDBZ so that they can get the latest build or just get news, because I know I'd be interested, and I know quite a few people in the community. Someone had brought it to a fight night down in Cincinnati a couple times, and he just kept beating people with like Frieza infinites or something like that. But yeah, that's really cool. So I'd love to learn more, and I'm sure the listeners too would love to learn more about HDBZ. So that's great.
Okay. Just a quick reminder. If anybody has any questions or they would like to find out more about Hyper Dragon Ball Z, you can always come check us out and register at www.mugenguild.com, and you can hit Balthazar's website to download the characters separately from the game, and you can always hit my YouTube channel. I have a playlist for all of the Hyper DB Dragon Ball Z music for anybody who is interested in that. You can always send me a message. I'm always open to questions as well.
This reminds me of something in the Hidden Gems of Gaming, which is an on and off sort of segment article series that I do on the website. A while back, I did an article about Salty Bet. Have you ever heard of Salty Bet?
Yes, I definitely have heard of Salty Bet. I didn't know what it was all about, but yeah, I've heard of it before.
So, have you ever watched any of it?
No. So I just heard of it.
Yeah, Salty Bet is this thing where you it's really easy to get addicted, first off. So for anybody listening, if you have addictive tendencies, don't go to Salty. Well, now you are anyways, but you know what I mean. So it's Mugen based. It's all automated. You sign up, you get fake money to wager against CPU controlled characters. In the Mugen, and I just kind of wonder if anybody's gonna, or if they maybe already have downloaded from Balthazar and the team any of the HDBZ characters and thrown them into Salty Bet. That would be funny. But yeah, it's this whole. They have statistics. They have a running. You can even spend your salty bucks, they're called, on upgrading or downgrading characters in the game, and they have tournaments every once in a while where you're given a new pool of salty bucks to bet from, so there's really no risk to your existing salty buck pile. Yeah, it's crazy. So I shouldn't hype myself up, because I've gone down the salty bet vortex before and I don't want to go back, but it is a hidden gem of gaming. So, but yeah, that just made me think of that when we were talking about Mugen. Or is it Mugen? How do you pronounce it?
You know what? I actually don't know. So,
however we want to pronounce it, I guess.
That's right.
Very good. So, last up in the community segment, before we start today's game segment, do you do requests, shows, or custom soundtracks for customers?
Yes. My PayPal is really down right now. I'm working out the issues with that. But yeah, in the past I have done original character themes. I am always open to requests as long as I'm not swamped with them. And I'm currently looking for requests right now.
Cool. Well, there you go, folks. You heard the man. If you want some really excellent music in that old school flavor, this is the man to go to. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think it is time for today's game segment. All right, Antoine, so I gave you a little preview before we started recording in earnest. This is going to be character battle. You, the guest, try to choose the correct answers for each character. Each character has 3 questions, so you have 2 separate opportunities for victory or defeat. Get 2 out of 3 to win, and then, of course, if you get less than that, it will be defeat. Whichever character has the better record, for example, if the first character has 3 out of 3, you get all 3 questions right, then that character is doing pretty well. If the next character only gets 2 out of 3, then by default, the first character will have won the character battle. That's just, arbitrary rules. And If you get all 6 questions right, which I hope you will, there is still a tiebreaker question that sort of beats around the bush, but will still make you choose a character in the end to win the battle. And then for all you listeners out there, on Twitter, probably, because that's easy to do polls, we'll have the character battle, the 2 characters, and feel free to vote, and we'll see which character you think should win. But for now, Antoine, are you ready for today's game?
Yes, I am ready.
Excellent. All right, so our character battle today is between 2 characters who you have composed themes for in the past, so you should be familiar with them based on what you were saying, knowing about their moves, knowing about their history, so no pressure, right?
Right.
Okay, so the first character with 3 questions will be Nakaruru from Samurai Showdown. So, she's the chick with the falcon. All right, first question, Nakaruru. True or false? Nakaruru is based upon the Ainu people of Japan, who are perceived as being closer to nature. Again, Nakaruru is based upon the Ainu people of Japan, who are perceived as being closer to nature. True or false?
I think I remember that to be true.
Okay, final answer true?
Yes.
You are correct. Very nice. Yes, Nakaruru
Right.
is based off of the Ainu people, being closer to nature. She's got the falcon. She's very peaceful. Absolutely. All right, excellent. Next question, number 2 for Nakaruru. Nakaruru's Kodachi, her short sword, can be used to perform an energy slash thanks to its ability to channel what kind of energy? Ki energy, that's Ki, wind energy, plasma energy, or kinetic energy. Again, Nakaruru's Kodachi can be used to perform an energy slash thanks to its ability to channel what kind of energy? A. Ki, B. Wind, C. Plasma, or D. Kinetic.
If I remember correctly, it is ki energy.
You are correct. Very nicely done. All right, that's 2 out of 3. So you have already won. So we'll play the victory sound. So question 3 is really just for pride, but here we go. And it's also to maybe set Nakaruru up to win today's character battle. Question 3. Nakaruru is very protective of her little sister, whose name is A. Kamui, B. Rimururu, C. Rera, or D. Liana. Nakaruru is very protective of her little sister, whose name is A. Kamui, B. Rimururu, C. Rera, D. Liana. What do you think?
Was it I know this one.
Tough one.
Is it Rara?
C. Rera. Final answer?
Yes.
That is unfortunately incorrect. It is B. Rimururu. The ruru is the clue there. Nakaruru, Rimururu, rururururu. Yeah. All right, so 2 out of 3 is not bad for Nakaruru. You did obtain victory with her particular character question set. But let's see if the next character, and don't throw the match, but maybe the next character you can get all 3. Our next character is Son Son from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So, for people who are voting in the poll, these are the 2 characters you'll be choosing between. Who would win in a death battle, character battle? Nakaruru of Samurai Showdown or Son Son of Marvel vs. Capcom 2? All right, so question number 1 for Son Son. Antoine, true or false? Son, the monkey girl of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, is a descendant of another Son from an older Capcom game. Is that true or false?
That's true.
You're correct. Yes, it is. There is another character, also named Son, who was from a game called Son, made by Capcom. And she is his granddaughter. So, very nice. Okay, question 2 for Son. After using the quote-unquote POW item, Son can turn her enemies into what? A. Soft drinks. B. Jelly beans. C. Fruits. Or D. Udon noodles. So again, after using the quote-unquote POW item, Son can turn her enemies into what? A. Soft drinks. B. Jelly beans. C. Fruits. Or D. Udon noodles. What do you think?
I believe it to be fruit.
You are correct. Very nice. All right. Victory has been achieved for Son. Very nice. So now this question is interesting. There could potentially be a tie, but it could potentially also result in a victory for Son. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Question 3. With her Ino ability, Son can transform into a giant ape. What is this new form officially known as? Is it A, the Uzaru, B, Son Strong, C, Giant Monkey Girl, or D, Crazy Ape? So again, with her Ino ability, Son can transform into a giant ape. What is this new form officially known as? Is it A, the Uzaru, B, Son Strong, C, Giant Monkey Girl, or D, Crazy Ape? What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Crazy Ape.
You think D, Crazy Ape? Final answer?
Yes.
Unfortunately incorrect. According to the wiki anyways, her form is officially known as the Uzaru. So, go figure.
Wow.
Just like Dragonball.
Right.
All right. So we actually ended up in a tie, which I didn't think was going to happen, but I do have a tiebreaker question. I won't tell you which one represents which character, although I'm sure you can figure it out. But think about judging them just based on which category you think is better for yourself personally, and then we'll have a winner. So, tiebreaker question, last question. Which do you think is better, Antoine? Dragon Ball Z or Godzilla? What do you think? In your personal opinion, do you prefer Dragon Ball Z or Godzilla?
I am a bigger fan of Dragon Ball Z.
All right, that is not a problem, and that means that Son wins. So, thanks, Uzaru, giant ape girl. Very nice. Okay, well, thanks for participating in today's game. For those listening, hopefully you got a kick out of it. Hopefully you did well. Hopefully you got 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 if you were listening. I certainly hope so. And so, according to our results today, Son would indeed win a character battle with Nakaruru. So, if you agree or disagree with that and would like your opinion heard, head on over to Twitter. Shortly after this podcast is published, I will have that poll up and ready for you. I've never actually done a Twitter poll, so that'll be a new thing, but that's okay. All right. So, Antoine, there's one more segment we're doing, and it is the riddle for Season 6, Episode 3. For listeners who are not familiar, each month I do 2 podcasts. Each one of those 2 podcasts has a riddle or some sort of question that you answer. If you get the questions correct, if you know the answer, send both answers from both episodes. This month will be Episode 3 and Episode 4. Send your correct answers to PowerUpFighters@gmail.com. If you got both questions correct, you will be entered to win a drawing for the month of July's prize. So, I didn't have any entrants last month. I don't know if that's because the podcast's not very popular or if my questions were too hard. So I tried to make the questions not quite as difficult. So Antoine, you are of course welcome to enter after you listen to this question. Don't shout out an answer. But then of course when you listen to Season 6, Episode 4, if you know the answers, you're more than welcome to send it in. You're not barred or anything because you're a guest. All right, so for Season 6, Episode 3, I do love doing poems and fighting game related poems. So, complete the poem, folks. It's the last word in the poem, and it's just one word. I'll give you that much of a hint. All right, our poem for Season 6, Episode 3 is this. We all looked around as if in a stupor. Our friend had misplayed and become that day's loser. The opponent's plan had worked out, as any good ruse may. For us it was horrible, but for him it was... what? What's that last word, folks? Think about that. I'll repeat the poem one more time. We all looked around as if in a stupor. Our friend had misplayed and become that day's loser. The opponent's plan had worked out, as any good ruse may. For us it was horrible, but for him it was... And there you go. So, Antoine, just based off of hearing that, do you think you know what that final word is?
I am very sure I know exactly what that word is.
Nice. Well, okay, that's good. I guess I have made it. I'm not saying that you wouldn't have known it if it was harder, but I'm glad that you know it because that hopefully means that other listeners will also know and send in some answers. I would love to actually give out a prize this month of July. That'd be great. Well, all right. WizzyWhipitWonderful, Antoine Pickens, thank you so much for coming on to the PowerUp podcast. This has been an honor for me. Have you had a good time with the podcast today?
Yes, I've had a wonderful, incredible time.
Great. That is excellent to hear. Do you have any last minute plugs? Of course, like I said, we can add anything that you think about after the fact in, but is there anything else that you would like to include for the listeners to go check out? Anything like that?
I just like to tell everybody to stay tuned to my channel. It's a lot of good music coming around. It's a lot of requests being fulfilled as of late this year. So get your requests in while it's hot, and hopefully you are satisfactory with the end result.
Very nice. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to PowerUp Podcast Season 6, Episode 3 with me, your host, Nathan Shields, and our wonderful guest, WizzyWhipitWonderful. Check him out on YouTube. All the links in the world that we need will be in the description of this podcast. Make sure you send me some answers to this month's challenge questions. I want to give out a prize. I want you to win it. You who are listening, you deserve it. Get those questions right. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you later. Bye-bye.